Hey, I'm Robert, Cook Saw Manufacturing. We want to talk about our magnetic scales that we use on our sawmills. We are looking at an AC 36 mill here today, but we use these scales or a version of them on any of our mills. So they are magnetic. These peel off so I can adjust it. I can swap it out real easy. So very easy to change out to get different scales, and then it pops right back up in place here. I do like to keep it flush at the top, and then we've got our pointer to read the scale, and I've got adjustment on that, so I can always put it back square and I don't have to worry about re-zeroing out my sawmill every time I change a scale. But what we have here, what comes standard, we've got a 1-inch scale on our far side. We've got a 4/4 scale, 5/4 scale, and then a 6/4 scale. The 1-inch scale, that is going to be a straight rule. It does not have any added extra measurements to it for kerf. So line to line, if I put a tape measure on it, it will measure 1 inch. So when I'm cutting, blade kerf's going to be 90 to 100 thousandths depending on the size of your blade. But that is not taken out or included in this scale. So if I cut line to line, that's going to give me about a 7/8 thick board, heavy 7/8. Now if I cut here at 10 inches, that's going to leave me with 10 inches of wood. So cut at 10, I've got 10 inches left of wood on the deck. If I cut down to 9, I've got a heavy 7/8 thick board and 9 inches left on the deck. So this 1-inch scale can be used to saw anything. I just got to know I've got to add that kerf into it while I'm sawing. Our 4/4 scale, scale is on the same strip as the 1-inch, but the 4/4, line to line on the 4/4 scale, that is going to cut 1 1/8. Those are your traditional hardwood scales. So the board cut off the mill is going to produce a 1 1/8 inch board. That gives you a little bit extra for drying and for planing. So those are your traditional hardwood scales. The 4/4, 5/4, and 6/4. 4/4 cut 1 1/8. 5/4 we're going to cut 1 3/8. So an 1/8 inch over, dry, plain, and finish at 1 1/4. And on our 6/4 scale, we're going to cut 1 5/8 to finish at 1.5 inches. Now we also offer some other scales, and we can peel these off. Just kind of stick them up to the side for now. This is a 1 and 2 inch scale here. So 1 inch, 2 inch. Line to line is going to cut a 1 inch board. So what we've got on here now, we've got our 1-inch scale to cut 7/8 boards, a heavy 7/8. We've got our 4/4 to cut 1 1/8. The 1 and 2 inch, this line to line on that 1 and 2 inch scale will cut a 1-inch board off the sawmill, and our 2 inch will cut a 2 inch off the sawmill. This scale does have the kerf included. Now we also have a cross tie scale. So if you get into cross ties, railroad ties, so we have start marks on here for a 6, 7, 8, and 9 inches, and then 4/4 marks. So if I'm sawing cross ties, standard's a 7x9. There's different sizes out there, but generally 7x9. So I start at the top of my log, find my closest mark, and I can cut 4/4 down to stop at 7 inches, rotate my log, same thing, start, cut down, 4/4 boards, my side lumber to finish at 9 inches. So these are the different scales we offer. Those are the sizes they cut. So depending on what you're doing, you'll find a scale that works best for you. On the 6/4 scale, that's our 1 5/8. We use that to cut 2x. Never hurts to have a little bit thicker board when I'm cutting 2x. I need my width to be right, but my thickness I like to be a little bit heavy. 5/4, generally see that a lot for decking. 4/4 for maybe some fencing. And then the 1 inch, if I need something special, I can use that scale to cut pretty much anything. Now everybody cuts something a little different. If you're using those scales, cut something different. If you would comment, we'd like to hear it. Helps us out, and we're curious. We want to know what you're doing with the scales with our mills. And if you've got any questions on these scales, always feel free to give us a call. And like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate y'all watching our videos.